So this is the first phase of the video. So in this video, we are going to be looking at Jupyter Notebook. We are just going to be trying to understand Jupyter Notebook, how to use Jupyter Notebook. I'll be explaining the interface of Jupyter Notebook to you and everything you need to know about Jupyter Notebook. So let's just get started. So the first thing you have to do is go to your computer and type Jupyter Notebook. As you can see, so you can actually open it that way, or you can open it using the prompt also, but I actually prefer opening it that way. Okay. So this is the analysis we are going to be looking at. So we are going to be building this from start to finish. So I'm going to be showing you how I performed this analysis from start to finish. So even if you're new to the field of data science or data analysis, you don't have to worry. So this video, I made it as beginner friendly as possible. So even if this is the first time you are, maybe you're just trying to enter into the field of the data science or data analysis, you don't have to worry. So I made this video as beginner friendly as possible. I explained a lot of terms and everything. So even if this is your first time in working on this kind of project, you don't actually have to worry about it. So let's go ahead and just create to actually understand this. So now this is when you open up your Jupyter Notebook. Okay, so let me just take this out. So when you open up your Jupyter Notebook, so you will see this is how the interface of your Jupyter Notebook looks like. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do when you want to start performing the analysis, the first thing you have to do, you have to go to this place. Okay, when you go to this place, you will see this drop down. All you have to do is click on this drop down. Okay, so you can simply take a new text file, a new folder, or a new terminal. But for the course of this project, we are going to create a new Python 3 file. Okay, so this is where you can actually you can write your code and perform all your analysis. Okay, so we just go ahead and create this. Okay, so if you don't actually have your Jupyter Notebook downloaded, okay, so I will actually make a different video showing you how you can actually download the Anaconda, okay, where you can add languages and all using different. You have your Anaconda, using your Anaconda, you have your Jupyter Notebook there, you have your a lot of software that you will be using. So let's just go here and say introduction. So that introduction to Jupyter Notebook. Okay, so it actually depends on this is where you give your Jupyter notebook your notebook the name you want to give. You maybe you're working on a financial analysis project. You can simply call it financial analysis project for so people. You can call it maybe healthcare analysis for this hospital or that. So as you can see, when we come over here, you can see I said exploratory data analysis for financial data sets. Okay, so now I want to start explaining Jupyter Notebook thoroughly. I want you to actually understand the interface of the Jupyter Notebook. Now the first thing you need to know is this. We have here, this is the run code. Okay. Maybe when you write your code, this is where you run it from. Let me say, for example, I say let me create a variable called financial is equals to 1 plus sorry. It's better is zoomed out so you can actually see it properly. Is equals to 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4. Okay, so when we run this, okay, sorry, let me just say financial is equal to, right, that's also, so when you run this, right, you can see that you have successfully run this code. So for you to actually view this code, the result of this code, you have actually, like now, this is a variable called financial, and I've assigned this 1 plus 3 plus 4 to this variable called financial. So for you to actually view the results, you actually have to call this variable. Okay, so there are two ways where you can call this variable. You can simply say print financial. Okay, Okay, so they say financial is not defined. So that's because we use a small capital F instead of the capital letter F. So let's go ahead and run it. So as you can see, we have a total of 8 here. So this is how you can actually print your results in Jupyter Notebook. Another way you can also print it if you don't want to do this, what you can actually do is you can just go ahead and call this using the name. So we will just go ahead and copy this and paste in this cell, and let's go ahead and run it. As you can see, it gave us a. So these are the two ways you can actually call a variable to actually see your results when working with Jupyter Notebook. Now, the next thing you need to understand this, okay? Now, this code, as you can see, when you click on this drop down, you have the code, the markdown, the raw convert, and the heading, okay? Now, the two major ones I'm going to be talking about is the code and markdown, okay? Now, when you're talking about code in Jupyter Notebook, you're simply is code. When you put it in code, it simply means you're trying to run a code. Maybe you're trying to run a programming code or you're trying to code, okay? This is what it means. Like when you use markdown, it simply means it's just like our normal text file. Maybe you're trying to write the text and the rest of it. Maybe you're just trying to write a text. So that is when you make use of your markdown. Now, for example, let's put this in markdown, okay? So when we go ahead and write financial is equals to 1 plus 3 plus 4. As you can see, when we go ahead and run this, as you can see, it's just like a text, okay? So it's just like a text, okay? So markdown basically is for text. Maybe you want to write a heading for your programming or something. Let me just go ahead and create a let me just go ahead and write a markdown here. Let me just say my let me just say the code below. Okay, let me just say assigning a value to the variable let's just say data, okay, to the variable data. So when you go ahead and run it, you see that this is just like a text file, okay? It is not a code, it is a text file. So this is the difference between markdown and code, okay? So instead of another way of setting it to markdown or code, instead of going from here, for some people actually see it as a long process, going from maybe going to the code or the markdown. Another way you can do that is once you just click on the cell, you click out here, okay? Once you click out here, then you go on your computer and hit M, okay? So once you go on your computer and hit M, it changes it automatically to markdown. Now, next thing you have to understand about this is, okay, you have to understand about this is, let's talk about the cell, okay? Here, this is where you can run your cells, okay? Maybe you want to run your cells. This is where you can run your cells. You run cells and select below, okay? You run cells and insert below. Run all. Run all is actually mostly used. Most often time, the ones you'll be using is when your coding is run or run above or run below. So majorly, these are the three I actually work with. So when you're running all, it simply means that you're trying to run all the codes you have written from the beginning to the end. So let's just go here. Okay, let's just click here and go to cell and say run all. As you can see, it actually ran all the code from the beginning to the end. And let's just say we are here now and we want to run this we want to run from this cell above. So what we just have to do is we have to go to cell, then we click run all above. So once you run all above, you see that it will run from here to the top, okay? But when you want to run from here to the down, what you have to do is you go to the cell and click run all below, okay? So that's it. So basically that is all the major things you need to know about the cell, okay? Now let's talk about the kernel, okay? One thing with kernel is sometimes when you're actually programming, okay, when you're writing your code, you can actually see maybe there will be an error, a red arrow here saying that maybe kernel is damaged or all. So all you have to do is go here and interrupt the kernel. So once you interrupt the kernel, you'll be able to continue coding. Like when your kernel is damaged, okay, when your kernel is damaged, you will not be able to run your code, okay, because when you run your code, it will not be giving you your result, or it will be giving you an error. So what you have to do is go here and interrupt your kernel, or you restart your kernel and off. So that is what it actually does basically. That is what kernel works with, okay. So now let's talk about this, okay. Let's talk about this view, okay. So as you can see, when we go to view, I say toggle header, as you can see. When I say toggle bar, as you can see. So that is basically the toggle, the view just thing, the view options are really not important. Basically what you'll be working with is the cell, the camel, and that's what you'll be working with most of the time. Okay. So another thing you need to understand about code is the hashtag. Okay. This is also called the comment out. Let's say you're writing a code and you want to just add an information to your code. So this is when you use the hash, okay. It is called comment out. What does this comment out means? It means that whatever you actually write in this hash after this hash may not be added to your code. So that is what the hash does basically. So let me just say, for example, um adding variables. Okay, so if today is the first time you're seeing my video and you actually don't understand what variables are, you don't actually understand how you can actually perform analysis using variables, I have a lot of videos on my channel that you can go back to, where I talked about variables, okay, data types, and we also performed a lot of analysis and we saw how we can actually manipulate the data types and the rest of them. So let's just say adding variables, let's just call this data 1 is equals to, so this is an integer. So you can actually go to my other videos to actually know about data types, okay. So I have a full video where I talked about data types on my other videos on my channel. So let's say is coming, okay. So let's say data underscore 3 is equals to data underscore 1, sorry, why am I always getting that wrong? Underscore, okay, sorry about that. Data underscore 1 plus data underscore 2, okay. So let's go ahead and say print data underscore 3. So let's go ahead and run it. So if you see this, okay, it gives you precious is coming, okay. So that is adding two variables as together, okay. Like some people will ask, why is there no space between these two variables? So what we have to do here is to create a space between the two variables. Just have to. Okay, so as you can see, we have successfully said have successfully added the two variables like data 1 and data 2, and it now says precious is coming. So I think this kind of look weird. So let's just go ahead and reduce this. Um, see here. So let me go ahead and run this. So it says precious is coming. So this is how you can actually add two variables together. So basically this is not what we are actually talking about now. I have a full video on data types and all. So what I'm actually talking about today is the commenting out. As you can see, because of this hash here, this adding variables was not actually added to the code. Okay, it was not added to the code. So this is what we call commenting out. So once you use this hashtag, whatever you write after this hashtag, after this hash is actually not added to the code. But let's say, for example, now we remove this hash. Let's go ahead and remove this hash and run this code, and you will see it will give us an error. As you can see, it says invalid error. That's because this is not added to the code, okay? And that is why we are getting this syntax error, okay? So that is what hash does, commenting out is all about, okay? So the next thing we are going to talk about is adding cells, deleting cells, and the rest of them. So now, to add cells, let's say for instance, I want to add a cell below. So what I have to do is this plus sign here is what you use in adding cells or inserting cell. So once you just go here and click this plus sign, as you can see, a cell has been added to it. Okay. So another thing you can do is another thing we are going to talk about is deleting the cell. Let's say we have added this cell now. Okay, so how do you delete the cell? Okay, so what you have to do to delete this cell is you just have to go over here and click outside the cell, then double click V. That means DV. Okay, so let's do that again. VB, DD, DD. So this is how you can add and delete cells. Okay, let's say you want to move cells up and down. Okay, let's just add cells here. And let's say you want to move cells up and down. Let's say let's add head here. And let's say we want to move these cells up and down. This is where this comes to play. So you use this arrow up and arrow down to move cells up and down. So once we click here and you can see it keeps going up, then we can move it down, keeps coming down. So this is how you actually use the arrow down and arrow up to actually move cells up and down. Okay, so basically this is the major things you actually need to know about Jupyter Notebook. Okay, I'll make a video on how you can actually install Anaconda, where you can actually have access to your Jupyter Notebook and other softwares you would actually be needing. Okay, so basically these are the important things you need to know about Jupyter Notebook when using it for programming. So we have come to the end of this video. So let's go back to over to the part 2 of the video. Thank you so much for watching.